Hi, can you hear me now? Denise? Hi, everyone. I'm actually very late, half an hour. Thanks. I had it wasn't even a technical problem. I just had a problem with the clock changing in Israel. I'm in Israel. And when I set up this thing, 10 in the morning PST was 8 my time, and now it's 7. So at 7, somebody wrote me, hey, it was supposed to start and it didn't start. So I'm so sorry for that. Sorry for the people who are here and have been waiting. And I guess a lot of people have been waiting and left us. So what to do? We're just going to start like that and maybe do the webinar again one other time. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Pavaka. And I'll be talking to you today about human design system and about correct relationships. And so I'm going to start now, and I hope you all can hear me. And if you have something to say hi, hello guys, then I see you here. I don't know if you guys see each other, but I do see you. So if you have a question or anything else, you can kind of, can I record? I am recording, and you're going to get the recording after this finishes. So let's start. So a few words about me for those who don't know me. My name is Pavaka Hallel Katzir. I'm from Israel. And I've been walking the spiritual path for many, many, many years, more than 20 years now. And human design came into my life around 6 years ago, and it really changed my life. Even though I was already a spiritual teacher, I was theta healing master, and before that I did other things. I was a therapist, a healer. But it really changed my perspective. I didn't think something would come like that and change my perspective. And this is why I'm talking to you about human design today. And what I do is sessions, map readings in human design, and I do retreats in Israel and internationally, and courses like Living Your Design for people who know human design. And actually, in the end of this webinar, I'm going to say a few words about the upcoming retreats in April in California and in Guatemala. And so stick with me for that. And I'll also be giving a special offer for the people who are interested in the retreat. Maybe you saw them, maybe you're thinking of coming. But first of all, we have a really cool lesson today about the thing which I think is the most important in life, and this relationships, starting from the relationship with ourselves and then relationship with other people in the world. Actually, life is all about relationships. It's all relations. So this is about me. It says a few things here. They're not very important. Okay. What is important is my relationships, and the reason that I'm talking about relationships is because I live very good relationships, and I'm talking about the relationship with my husband that you see here in the pictures, and my little girl, and my 17-year-old son, and actually the relationships with everyone around me. So it starts with the people that are closest to me, like my family, but it ends with the people on the street. We have relationships with so many people during the day. And I can truly say that human design changed the way that I communicate from the base. So it made me who I am, and being myself in relationships, which was something that before I thought I was pretty authentic before human design. But since I wasn't truly myself, I couldn't truly be authentic in relationships. And when human design came into my life, it was a real revolution. So I really stopped. My mind stopped, and the way I was relating with myself and with the world stopped, and it became something different. And I'm here to say that relationship can be something very different than what we're used to. When you look around in your life, even the relationships that are considered good relationships have a lot of pain in them. People think it's very normal to fight. I know couples that have been together for years and years, and they really love each other and truly want to be in a good relationship, being good to each other, but it just doesn't work out. And it doesn't work out because they just don't understand themselves correctly, so they can't understand the other correctly. And basically, this is what we're going to be talking about today. So for me, the key to relationships that are really based on harmony, on respect, on love, on authenticity, on not, expecting the other to be something for you or expecting yourself to be something for the other, or not trying to change yourself or just trying to change the other. For me, the key to all that was human design. And so I'm going to be speaking about human design today. Human design system. So what is human design system? Have you guys heard of human design already? And there's a few of you here that I've seen on the human design Facebook group. So I know, yes, okay. So I'm going to talk basics now for the people who know human design. You know this, but I'm speaking for the people who do not know human design and maybe heard about it, heard the name, but are not really sure what it is. So human design is a system of knowledge that came into the world through a messenger called the Ra Uru Hu. And it's actually a system for self-knowledge, meaning it's something that is here for us to know ourselves, but not only ourselves. It really makes us understand, helps us understand the matrix that we live in. So this material world that we're living in, not only know it, but navigate in it. So it's a system that is combining a few very old sciences like I Ching and Kabbalah and chakra system and astrology, and also physics and biology and chemistry are in there as well. And they make up a map. So what you see here in the picture, it's a human design map. But what you see here is actually a map that everything is colored in. But when you look at the human design map, and you'll see later maps like that, some of the things in the map are colored in, and some are white, not colored in. So it changes from person to person. And we call human design science of differentiation because actually each map is different. Even maps that look kind of alike, when you look at them on the surface, under the surface and the substructure, there is no two maps that are alike. It's amazing. Each of this, numbers, if you can see, there are small numbers in those centers here. Each of this number is called the gate, genetic gate. Each of these gates have 1,080 options of expression. So human design map is something that's very unique for each and every one of us. And the concept of differentiation is unique because we're used to, systems that tell us do 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C, and you'll be great, but human design is really differentiated. And in that way, if we talk about relationship, we can really start understanding the uniqueness of the people around us and understand that not everybody is like us. And how do we deal with that? How do we deal with the other being really different, communicating in a different way, needing other things, etc. So it's a genetic map that brings us back to ourselves. And out of this bringing back to ourselves, it brings us back to relationships, different relationships. I'm going to be talking about that. And let's start with the problem of relationships. Well, basically the problem of life, not just of relationship, is our mind. Not the mind as the fact that we believe our mind and the stories that it tells. And we are sure that the mind is really smart and that it knows what it's saying. And so we have so many stories about everything. And when it comes to relationships, we have the story of the mind about who we are. We have the story of the mind about who the other is and what the relationship is. And we have all the stories of what we think it should be and it should not be, and how our parents' relationships were, or, the ones that we saw in the books and then the movies, and we compare that, and we have ideals and we have ideas. And this is actually the problem, because the real world is not the ideas we have about it. And we have ideas about ourselves, and that's the reason that we do not know ourselves, because the self is not our mind and not the thoughts that we have in our mind. And so when you have two people that are communicating through the mind, and the mind is a story, you actually have two stories meeting and not two people meeting. And in the stories, there's all the fantasies that we have, like the dream of relationship. And then when it doesn't match our fantasy, we have the shattering of the dream. And I'm not talking only about a relationship of, love, intimate relationship. This happens with our children, with our friends. We have the idea what our children should be, what our relationship with our children should be. So when it's not like that, we think the children are not okay. Maybe there's a problem with them. Maybe there's a problem with us, and we hate ourselves because we're not good enough parents. So this happens in every kind of relationships. We have this story, and the story does not match reality. And then we have expectations. So we expect the other to be something for us. We expect them to be what we think they should be. And we also expect it from ourselves. So we have a notion of what we're supposed to be. And this is where the shame and blame game starts. So I'm ashamed that I'm not who I think I'm supposed to be for you, and I don't know how to love you enough, or whatever the story is. And I'm blaming you for not, meeting up to my expectations. This is the shame and blame, and it's not a nice game. It's a war game. And in that war game, there's the power struggle of the ego. If we have a story about ourselves and we want to be something, we need to prove something. And in human design, there's the heart ego. It's a center of willpower, and most people have it open. So most people don't really know their worth, and they're trying to prove their worth all the time, and they're doing in relationships, and all types of relationships. And this brings the power struggle. Now, if we have a power struggle that I need to be the one that is right, and I need to prove that I'm good enough and I'm worthy, this is where war starts. The other, if he doesn't meet my expectation and he doesn't give me the value or see me the way I want to be seen, then he's the enemy. So two stories will always be a power struggle, because if I believe my story, I need my story to be the truth, then I'm going to fight over that. And if your story is different, I'm going to fight you, and you're going to become the enemy, because my story needs to be correct. Otherwise, who am I? Do I even exist? So you have expectations, you have the power struggle, and you have lack of authenticity. What does that mean? Well, when we live out of our mind and the stories of our mind, we have the story of who we are. We actually are lying most of the time. We have the agenda of the mind, and most of relationships that you see are not very authentic, because we're trying to play a role. And when you're trying to play a role and you're not really who you are, you cannot be authentic, and most people speak from their mind, and the mind speaks all the what you can call empty places in us. For the people here who know human design, then it's the centers that are open. They have strategies for the mind. So for example, I gave the example of the heart ego strategies to trying to prove yourself. And so you will be speaking out of this, trying to prove yourself. This would be your agenda. How can you be authentic if you have an agenda? And mind always has an agenda, and that agenda is to be something or someone, and to hold that what in the spiritual world is called ego, not in human design. The ego, the self identity. So that's the mission of the mind, to hold that self identity. Also, there's trying to fit and change. So trying to fit into the relationship, trying to fit into relationships, to the society's idea of what this relationship should be, and trying to fit to what the other expects from me or wants from me, or what I think he expects from me. And And that is lack of self. Lack of self means you're not who you are in relationship. I think this is something most of the people would relate to. So a common thing is being in a relationship and feeling you can't really be who you are. You can't really be yourself. Well, we blame the other for that, but actually most people don't really know who they are. So how can you be who you are in a relationship if you don't know who you are? And knowing who you are is not a mind thing. Otherwise, it's another story. And this is what human design brings with strategy and authority. So we'll speak about that in a while more, but there's a strategy to each person that can stop the mind and stop the mind game. And then when you start making decisions out of yourself, you start discovering yourself. And yourself is not what you think you are. And let me tell you something. I have been really on the spiritual journey since I was really I started very early. At 20, I was already in India in Osho's ashram, if you know Osho, in Pune. And I started meditating and I changed my name. And a year later, or even less, I was already with this Zen master that was living there in Pune. And I woke up to my true self, meaning, the mind stopped and I could not see as it's also seeing, but it's a recognition, a recognizing, of self, like playing hide and seek and then finding after, many, many, many years. So knowing the fact that I'm just consciousness, that I'm eternal consciousness, watching all this, and that I have been watching this mind and this body over the years, and that it's all been a drama and it's not the truth. So I was very young when this happened. And after that, I was going on to, I did years of Byron Katie, knowing everything is a story. But, in the daily life, in the matrix, coming back from a few years in India and sitting in meditation all day, when I came back to real life, what we can call the matrix, and having a child and working and, being married and then getting divorced and all my story, I have a long story like all of us do. In the daily life, what was I listening to? I was listening to my mind, telling me what to do. And truly, I wasn't myself the way I am today. So I had all these spiritual ideas that came back after this waking up, what I should be, what I should be attached to or not attached to, and there's all the spiritual ideas of non-attachment and, you're not the ego, and all that is also concepts. So this is not what this is about. Being yourself is not about that. And the relationship with ourself is being ourself, not thinking ourself, not even thinking waking up. And so what I want to say is, will this be repeated? I missed most of the beginning. It's recorded, so you are going to be hearing this in the recording if you want. And I'm saying sorry again for starting half an hour later than I was supposed to. It was a mistake. So what I want to say is that really lack of self, even for spiritual people who have been many years, in the path and investigating themselves, and healers and, therapists and whatever. I've been all that before human design. And I can really say that the thing that really woke me up, in the sense that this is a waking up in the body, in the life, not as a mental concept, only happened to me, and I'm only speaking of my experience with human design. And so when it happened to me, self came in. So until then, in relationships, there was lack of self, but I did not know it. I thought I was myself. But this is what's happening in most of relationships. It's just lack of self. And then trying to change. So trying to change yourself for the other, or trying to change the other for you, and both of them do not work, and it's a pain for both sides. It's painful to try to change, and it's painful to not accept the person you are having a relationship, whether it's your children or your friends or your colleagues or your boss or your students, people are working with you, and you have ideas about all these people, what they're supposed to be, and you think they should be different than what they are, and you're trying to change yourself to be what you think they need or they whatever, it's all a story. And this is the problem. And we try to solve the problem with our mind, so you go to a therapist and they say you try to be this or that and you're trying to fix the problem in the mind, but the problem is the mind. You can't fix it in the mind. Einstein was we like quoting wisdom, smart people like Einstein. He said you can't fix the problem from the same thing that is creating the problem. Well, this is it. The mind is the problem. So we have to find a way to actually go around it and do something else, not do mind again and again and again, because all mind brings is frustration and bitterness and anger and disappointment. And we'll be talking about the types of human design that are, the reason for frustration or bitterness or anger. It's very unique for each one. Just a second. I'm trying to understand how I go to the next thing here. Excuse me for this. This is a new system for me. I haven't been using it before, and it's giving me some problems. Man. Hello? Oh, man. Okay. See, I just drop out. And now I'm trying to understand how I go to the next slide. And I'm sorry for that, people. I think I found it. Oh, I found it. Thank you for hanging on with me in there, hanging in there with me. The way out. So we're talking about the problem. All good, Vladimir, thank you. Let's talk about how we go out of the problem. So the saying, the only way out is the way in. So it's totally my experience that this is how it happens. And what human design shows us is something really interesting that, spirituality talks about this yin and yang and us being, the female and the male. But when you look at the human design map, you can actually see that. So first of all, the human design map is based on I Ching, amongst other things, but the I Ching is very strong. There's the gates that I was talking about are I Ching, and the I Ching is a very, very old Chinese system that looks at the 64 structures that are actually 6 lines of yin and yang. So it's all the combinations of yin and yang. And what's interesting is that, our genetic, if we look at human genetics, we have 64 codons. So codons are a few what it's called, proteins, A, C, T, and G. I'm sorry, I'm used to saying this in Hebrew, and now English sometimes I have to kind of find the words. So we have 64 codons in the human code, and we have 64 hexagrams. And in the human design map, each of these gates is a codon. So it's a chemical in our genes, making up the genes, the genetic information. And this is all made of yin and yang, if you look at life, you look at an atom, you have protons and electrons, everything is plus and minus, it's female and male. This is what it is, this is the material world. Without that, there would be no material. But when you look at the map, you actually see this. This is what we're made of. We are each yin and yang inside us, inside every molecule. And another interesting thing is that when you look at the human design map, it's actually 2 maps brought together. So in here, you see my map up here, and then down here, you see 2 maps. One is only red and one is only black. And for you people that know human design, this is the design and personality. But for you guys who maybe don't know this, human design says we are actually not one, we are two, we are binary consciousness. So we walk in the world and we feel like we are one. Yeah, I'm Pavaka, it's one person, but actually we have two crystals inside us, consciousness crystals, and they are two different, and they're a few months apart, and one of them is the body and the other one is the soul or the mind, and we're actually made up of these two things. And we can look at the design as the yin, it's the body, it's, you know, it's like Mother Earth. And then we have the personality, it's like Father Sky, I like to say, you know, Mother Earth and Father Sky, and it's the thought, it's the soul, it's the yang. So each of us is actually two things, body and mind, yin and yang. And I'm not going to go into something that is very important, actually, and very basic in human design, the understanding that we're not working correctly, or we're not understanding correctly the part of the body and the part of the mind. We think the mind is the boss, and it's not, according to human design. So we have the body has its wisdom to lead us along in this, in this material plane. And if we just let it, it's going to take us to the perfect reality that is ours, because it's connected to this reality. It's like a limousine that has a driver and we're sitting in the back seat and we're trying to control reality, and it doesn't work. So this is one of the basic things in human design. And this is why we say in human design, don't listen to your thought when it tells you what to do. And this is what changed for me. Well, I was saying before that I already woke up very early, but when I came into human design, it was like, oh, how come I didn't think of that? If it's all the story, why am I listening to it in my daily life when it's telling me what to do? And I stopped listening to it. And then I could start listening to something else, the wisdom of this body, you know? And so when you look at this, you understand that actually everything is in us, you know, the yin and the yang, the female and the male, me and the other. It's all a mirroring. So the basic solution for relationship is actually the relationship with myself. You know, inside of us, there could be harmony. Usually it's not a harmony, because since we do not know how to live correctly, and we are listening to the mind, then there is an inner fight inside of. There's a conflict. It's like we don't know how to live in this yin and yang body and this yin and yang world without being in conflict, because the yin and the yang are not a harmony. But what human design teaches us is to, in my experience, to kind of be the paradox, to be these two forces that make up us, and not be conflicted. And when this happens, our relationship change. You know, if I stop fighting with what I am because I understand what I truly am, then I don't have to fight with the other. It's just a mirroring, you know. And this is a very like spiritual new age. Everybody knows everything is mirrors, right? But how does it really, you know, come to life? It's really happening like this, that if you are, you know, if you have self-love, you love the other. If you have harmony inside, you have harmony with the outside world. If you respect yourself, and you know, most people don't respect themselves. I did not respect myself before human design. I did not know how to, because nobody ever told me my nature. For example, I'm an emotional being. So in human design, that means I have the solar plexus defined, and I'll talk about what defined is in a minute. And it means that my emotions are actually very important to me. They are what move me, and they are what my inner authority is. Each person in human design has an inner authority, or a process of inner authority. And before human design, I did not know I'm emotional. I did not know I need to give myself time to you know, reach clarity. So I wasn't respecting myself. I wasn't giving myself time to make decisions. So how can I respect the other if I don't know how to respect myself? Most people do not know how to. And so self-love is love of others, and self-respect is respecting others, and being self is letting others be. Yeah. When I truly let myself be who I am, I can let the other be who they are, then there's no expectation, there's no blame and shame game. I'll be myself, you be yourself. And this is the perfect relationship in my experience, with my husband, with my kids, with my friends. I am myself and they are themselves, and otherwise it doesn't work for me, you know? And if I have inner peace, then I have peace outside, and I do have inner peace since human design. It doesn't mean I'm not angry sometimes or sad or emotions are coming up, in me, but they are not me, I am watching this. So this is something that goes through me, an emotion, or a thought about something or someone. It's okay. It's all good. But if I'm peaceful inside myself and I accept myself in my reality, I can accept the other. And this is the key. Now let's understand something about relating and the truth of relating. So we think we know what communication is. We speak to someone and we hear what they say, and we have the thoughts of, what he said just now and what we need to say and blah, blah. But the truth is, real communication is not what happens here. True communication occurs in the substructure of this world through our fields, or what we called in human design aura. So actually, the way I see it, we are the aura. So we are an energy field, which we're much bigger than what we think we are. It's like 2 arm length to each direction. And that means we're mixing all the time with the people around us. And through this aura, information moves. There are particles that come from the stars. They're called neutrinos. And according to human design, these neutrinos, they're kind of coding our matrix. They move information. And actually, information is vibration. So it's a vibration that comes in and changes us and then goes out and change people around us according to our vibration, and vice versa. So we kind of all together, we are affected from the stars, and then we influence one another, and we're making our matrix together. And all this communication is not something that we can see or we can hear. It happens on the energetical level. We can't see that. And when we start to understand this level, we start to understand what is really happening between people, how we influence the other and how the other influences us. And we understand that it's not personal. And what this brings, it brings a let go into what is, a surrender. Surrender is a beautiful word. Is very, it's we hear it in spiritual teachers and methods. Surrender. What does that mean? It just means you're now listening to the story of your mind. You understand that something else is moving through you, and the mind is actually telling a story about this. So let's look at what happens with the auras. You mix with people around you. You have your aura, they have their aura, and you're mixing. So let's see what this is about. So if you heard of human design, then you heard of types. And what does that mean, types? It means that we have a few types of people, of structures. Yeah. So if we look at this body as a vehicle, even the body mind, a vehicle, then you can imagine we have 4 types of vehicles, like you have a plane, you have a bicycle, you have a car, yeah, and you have a boat, whatever. And then sometimes you need a boat if you want to go fishing. If you want to fly somewhere, you're going to need an airplane. And if you want to, drive to your friend who lives across the street, bike would be the best. It's not like there's one vehicle that's better than the other. They're just different. Their mechanics are different. And when I talk about mechanics, it's the aura. The aura is different. So the energy is different. It's a different movement in the world. They are designed to move differently in the world, and they are designed to communicate in a different way. We think everybody's like us. It's not something conscious, but we think that, we think, why can't they be like that and like this? When I do this, I'm like this. When, if I want something, I just do it, whatever. But people are different. We're all unique, and we're designed to move different and to communicate different. So let's look at that. So we have 4 types of auras. And let's start with the generator. You see here, generator and manifesting generator with the yellow halo like this. The generators are around 70% of humanity. So this is most of the people. Most of the people walk around with a totally open aura. Not only open, but also enveloping. So most of the people walk around and they're kind of open and they mix. And when they talk, it's like a ping pong, you know, and they have this auric understanding between them. And generators, since they're so enveloping, the way I see it, you know, they're the bedrock of our culture. So, you know, how we have families and tribes and everything is like very much mixing. And for them, there's a certain communication that's very natural. And it's most people, you know, most people find it natural to kind of mix and talk and ping pong, you know, like generators. But look at the projector, for example. The projectors, they have a focused and penetrating aura. So they walk around, they do not know they have this aura, and this aura is very like yang, you know, and it's very strong, and they just go into the generators. So now imagine, and you don't have to imagine, most of you baby are generators, you have an open aura, so you feel everything is mixing with you all the time, and sometimes you don't know when you are, you know, when you are ending and the other one starts, and then comes this projector, they're focusing, they're coming right into your aura, and it feels uncomfortable. They don't know that, and you don't know that, and your mind is going to be telling you a story about that person, you know? It's going to be telling you, oh, this person, you know, takes my energy, or, you know, is whatever you're going to be saying about that. And the projectors usually feel like they're pushed away. And it's just the aura, you know? So if you have projectors in your life, and we're going to talk about, you know, the strategy in a minute, then you would feel these people are the ones that you feel intimate with because they go into your aura. So if you're one-on-one, it's perfect. If you want to be in connection with them, it's perfect. It's the connections where you feel they see you, you know, that person that you feel really that they see you. But when it's not correct for you, when you don't want that, and they just come in, it's the person you're going to be feeling totally uncomfortable with. And you would want them, you know, to go out of your aura. So we have the generators with open and enveloping aura, and we have the projectors with this focused and penetrating and absorbing aura. So projectors, you're going to absorb other people's energy and feel like you're full of things that aren't even yours. And this is what happens. It's the truth. And projectors are around 20%. And then we have the manifestors, like me. So manifestors, they're closed and tight and repelling aura. And they don't know why they can't communicate like the other people, because they communicate different. The projectors also communicate different, by the way, than the generators. The generators can all be in a group. The, you know, projectors need one-on-one. The manifestors, they kind of repel, they kind of push everyone away, and they don't know it. So they don't know why people don't come up to them. They're not sure they're loved, you know, and people feel uncomfortable with them because of this aura, and they do not know this. They feel very much alone in this. And, you know, if you don't know that about yourself, like it was for me, you might think something's wrong with you, or you think, you know, you don't know how to communicate like the other people, or you feel like an alien, you know, you feel something, you know, something is not the way it's supposed to be. But that's not true. You just have your way to communicate. And when you know that, it changes the way you see the world, you know, and the way that you can move in it. So just this understanding that if you're a manifestor or a projector, and you're not like everybody else, and or if you know somebody in your life is a manifestor or a projector, you know, then you can start treating them different with respect to what they are. You can start moving in the way that is correct for you and correct for them. And then there's the reflectors. Reflectors, manifestors are around 8.5% of humanity, and reflectors are only like less than 1.5%. And they can open and close, and anyway, you won't be meeting a lot of them, but they're very interesting. My daughter is like that, and they're kind of like a mirror of their, of their reality. Perfect. Okay. So let's see what we do with this. So we understand that we have different auras. It means we are different in the way we're supposed to communicate, and we have a key to communicating correctly, actually. And imagine how you are supposed to move in the world. We are like vehicles that come into this world and we don't have a manual. When you buy a new car, you get a really big manual, what you need to do with the car, what each button is, and how you open the doors and close them. What do you need to do if something goes wrong? You get a manual. But when we're born, we didn't get manuals. Our parents didn't get manuals, so now imagine you can get the manual. This is what human design gives you. And so if you're talking about relationships, and this is our issue today, relationships, then you get the manual for how you are supposed to be in relationships. And if you understand human design, you start understanding the manuals of others. So you understand, what key to use with each one and how you need to turn that. How do you open the door? How do you close it? What do you do with the buttons that you're pushing and you didn't even notice that you're pushing? This is what happens when you understand human design. You start understanding the mechanics. So we have a lot of psychologies about ourselves. Because again, we have ideas, we have ideas that are based on the system that we grew up in, the culture we grew up in, the family we grew up in, and all that has nothing to do with who we are, with how we're designed, with our structure, the way that our body is, the way that our mind is, our emotion, our willpower, our intuition. Imagine they are different in each one and that we have a different aura. And this is all mechanics. So if we do not understand mechanics, how can we move correctly? And if we don't understand the other's mechanics, how can we be correct with them? It's very, very difficult, But here is the key to correctness, and it's very simple. It starts with the type. So there are many, many elements in the human design map, but type is the base. And Ra, the person that brought this information to the world, he said, if you don't deal with the type, you have nowhere to go. If you don't deal with the type, you have nowhere to go. If you don't understand your aura, that's your basic mechanics, and it's the basic energy that you move in the world. If you don't understand that and you're not correct with your aura, it doesn't matter all the information you have, about the gates, the channels, and the lines, and there's so much information in human design. It's an amazing knowledge, really. And for people who like knowledge, for people who like to learn knowledge, you can learn it and dive deep and deeper into it, and there's no end, really. But actually, in my experience, the gift of human design is not all that knowledge. It's the fact that this knowledge is a practical key. And if you use that key, it will change your life. It will change the way you see the world. It will change the way you move into the world. And it will change your relationships with yourself and with the world. But this happens through strategy. And the way I experience it is that the knowledge is there to just help us let go into the strategy and what we call inner authority. So let's talk about the strategies of the types, because type is strategy. So each type has a different aura, and each aura has the strategy how to move into the world. So let's do that. Do you want to do that? look, I'm a manifester, so I just talk and talk and talk. I know webinars, sometimes, people ask questions, and if you have something to say, then just go say it and I will see it. But it's not natural for me so much to ask and see where you guys are at. I see you're staying here, so I'm happy. Okay, so this is a little informing for me. Okay. So being correct according to our type, and we have a strategy for that. And let's start with the generators here. You see the little picture of Buddha that I put there? I totally see it like that. Generators, you guys, you're supposed to be, you're the Tao, don't push the river. Do without doing and everything gets done. And generators are here to do, they do. They have the sacral power. Sacral is the motor in the body, the engine that makes the life force. It generates the life force. And generators are amazing beings that are here, to work and to, bring up families, and they are here to be the world. They are the world. And they're here to do and do and do, but they are here to respond. They're not here to initiate. So, we talked about the aura of the generator, that it's an open aura. It's very yin, and it's not only open, it's magnetic. So you have the sacral, and the sacral is what the Chinese call dantian, and the Japanese call hara. I always tell my students, when Japanese people, they want to kill themselves, they do harakiri, it's straight into the stomach. Then nobody can save you. It's not the heart that they can save you. They can't. It's where the life force is. And so you have this engine that generates the life force, and it's kind of like it's dancing with life. It's dancing with life. So it's waiting for life to call it, and then it can respond. And this is the generator's dance, that when generators are correct, they kind of seem like dancers, they move correct with the energy. It's beautiful. They're like the birds or the bees that, go to the flowers and like that. So the aura is open, and it's magnetic. It's magneting the world to it. And generators are like sports cars with the, fastest, strongest engine, but with no gear. So they're not here to initiate. They're here to wait, this engine roaring, for something to come and move them. And most generators do not do that. That's why they do not have energy. They're frustrated instead of being satisfied. They are frustrated, and they're very confused because they're trying with their mind to know all the time what to do, and it's very, very hard for them. And they feel stuck because the energy does not move correctly when you try to, you try to change the gear with a sports car that does not have the gear, you're full gas and neutral, you're just stuck. And this is what most generators feel. And they feel that in relationships as well. So, I don't have a husband or a wife, whatever, I'm stuck. And now I'm in a relationship. I have a husband, I'm stuck. I don't have kids, I'm stuck. If I have kids, I'm stuck. Do you know that? I don't have enough friends, I'm stuck. But if I have friends, maybe it's too much and I'm stuck. They get that way in relationships. And not only in relationships, in what they do, which is really important for them, because they're all about energy and how they move it, Move it in the correct relationships with the correct people, move it in the right way, move it into doing the right things. This is what generators are all about. So generators are here to respond to life. And this is the strategy. What does that mean? It means if you're a generator, you're not supposed to initiate. You're supposed to wait for things to come to you. And this is true in relationships and in everything else. Okay, so start thinking of your relationships. If you're a generator, if you open your map and you see it says generator, you want to wait for things to come to you. You want to wait for people to come to you. Or it can happen together. But anyway, you want to be asked, is this correct for you? Do you want to come over? Are you going to do this? Do you have energy for that? Do you want to see me today? Maybe tomorrow? You want to be asked so you can respond. This one thing will change for generators all the relationships. It can change your life. Wait to respond. Wait to be asked. Wait to be asked. And also for generators, ask the other, because most of the people you're going to be in relationship with are anyway going to be generators. And if they initiate with you, they do not know if they want to initiate truly. I mean, it's just something the mind says. They don't know if they have the energy. So if your friend says, hey, do you want to come over? And you say, yes, you have your inner authority. We're not going to be talking about this today because it's too much. But just this asking one another, so your friend asks, do you want to come? You say, yeah. Do you want me to come? They might say, oh, no, you know what? I don't really have the energy. I'm tired. I don't know why I told you. It was just a thought. Then you can have a correct relationship. It's not personal. You're not going to get hurt. You're not going to, you're not going to be sad. You're not going to be angry. They asked you, they respected you, and you respect them. You ask them. And then you can decide together out of respect to each other, each one respecting themselves and the other. And that's a totally different world than what is out there. People telling all the time, you should do this, you should do that, come over. You didn't come over for a while. You're not a friend, whatever. It's different. And then you have projectors. And projectors, they're not waiting to respond. They're waiting for an invitation. I put Yoda there because they're very wise. They're here to see the generators and manifestors and to kind of guide the energy. But they need to be invited, because remember, their aura kind of comes in. And if it comes in wrong, then it'll all be wrong. The whole relationship will be wrong. And also for you projectors, you are non-energy type. You bet it does, somebody said here. And you're a non-energy type. And what does that mean? It means when you go into the other, you get their energy, you absorb their energy. So imagine you're absorbing energy that doesn't even want to be gifted to you, or energy that is not even good for you. You're like people that eat rotten food sometimes. Projectors, you need to think when you're sitting with someone, if you take a bite with that person, would it taste good? Yeah, it's the taste, because you're feeding on this energy and you want clean energy. So if you're invited into this energy, it's good for both sides. Generators, when you invite projectors, and this is true for manifestors also, I love projectors. When I invite them, they're amazing. They're so wise and they're so sweet. There's sweetness, with projectors. But if they're not invited, if they just come telling me what they think, they're the most annoying people on earth. And it's a totally different relationship if they're invited and if they're not invited. So projectors, when you wait for an invitation, and it might take time, and sometimes it's not easy. I think it's not easy for projectors. It takes more time, than generators, because it's an invitation. And the world we live in is not really, most of the people don't invite. They don't see the other, because, people are not correct. But if you wait, it will come. They will see you and they will invite you. And then you are invited. And if your inner authority says yes, then you go into the right thing with the right energy there to feed you. And it's a totally different relationships. And for the generator or manifestor that is, communicating and having a relationship with this projector, it's going to be correct when you invite them out of really wanting it, out of really having the energy for them. You're going to get all their gifts because they see you. And they can guide you, and they can tell you things that nobody else can. They're amazing. And then there's the manifestors. We're perfect, but no, just kidding. Manifestors are actually, well, it's not very easy. Somebody has had a bunch of experiences talking with projectors on the phone or Skype. I can feel the aura. Yeah, no need to be in person. I find that really interesting. The lighthouse beam aura, it is like a lighthouse. And I also feel what you're saying. I think it's because of the voice. Our voice carries our energy. So I feel when we speak and frequency, vibration, when we speak, you can hear the frequency. So you can kind of feel the aura, because actually this whole world is an illusion anyway, right? I mean, we see it's just light. We hear it's just a movement that, we have this little bones in here that move, and then the mind makes a picture. So yeah, we can feel the aura even when we talk and we hear the voice. So manifestors get really angry in relationships because, most of the people, they just come at you. And manifestors are not here to be initiated with. You guys are here to initiate. You are the ones to choose who you want to speak with, who you want to be in relationship with, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And it's a strange thought, because we're not brought up that way. So first of all, people think about manifestors, it's only your way, it's only how you want it to be. And manifestor, they think something's wrong with them. Like, this person is nice. Why do I feel anger when he comes towards me? But the thing is, it's all energy. So you have a closed aura and your energy is very young. Yeah, so the manifestor's energy is kind of focused on something. The aura is focused on something. I can sit around, and it looks like I'm not doing anything. I'm just thinking, but I'm very focused in my thought. My energy is always going straight somewhere like an arrow. And then somebody comes and interrupts my energy. What happens is I get anger in my body. My body gets angry. It's not my mind, it's not psychology. My mind will be telling a story about this and will say, this person is like this and like that. But actually, it's just the interruption of the field. So for manifestors, you are here to initiate, not be initiated with. And if you're initiated with, it's not going to work. And Lucia says, but I'm an empath too. I can really feel the energy of other people really good. And I'm a manifestor. Okay. I feel manifestors are very, very sensitive. I feel very sensitive. You know what I always say? Manifestors were like, the book, The Little Prince, French book, Little Prince. There's, he has the rose. He has the rose, and the rose has this glass on it to protect it. This is how we manifestors are. We're very, very delicate and very sensitive, but we have this aura that protects us. Why? Because we're supposed to initiate. We're supposed to be moving in space and not having the movement, kind of interrupt. So we have to have this field. It's like an armor. Yeah, we have like an armor. So in communicating, this armor can be a little problematic, and you need to know how to move in the world. You need to be the one initiating, and you need to inform, because you have a closed aura and nobody knows what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're going to do. So they feel uncomfortable. They don't trust you. And, they feel that you kind of, you are not unexpected, unexpected. So you inform. And when we inform, it bridges. It makes a bridge with the other. This is my experience. The other can connect with us when we are informing. So informing and initiated for manifestors. And for reflectors, you're supposed to be waiting 28 days to make a decision. That's a long time. So imagine somebody comes into your life and wants to be your friend. Actually, it will take you, I have a reflector, she says, at least a month. Yeah, at least a month. The moon cycle. And you guys are waiting for surprise. I see it with my daughter all the time. She's waiting for the surprises in life. And if you're not surprised, you're going to be disappointed. So it's not really nice being disappointed in relationships. And just remember, you need time. Reflectors, I don't know if there are any reflectors here, because they're 1 in 100 and we're not many people here today, but reflectors need to wait. They need to give themselves time, to know if a relationship is for them or not, and it's at least a month. Okay, so let's go on to something else. I've been human design. I still haven't found a healthy way to deal with people asking me questions. Yeah, well, this is what type are you, Simone? Yeah, what type are you? If you don't like being asked questions, if you're a manifestor, that makes sense. We manifestors don't like to be asked questions. We don't. Or being told. You know, we just like to say our thing. Manifestor, yeah. Okay. Well, I have a lot to say about manifestor as a manifestor myself. But since we're talking about relationship, I do want to go on. I want to just say your key is really to inform. So for me, for example, I inform my husband, you know, don't ask me. Don't ask me. If you have something, inform me. So people in manifestors' life, it's better if they inform them. They don't ask, you know, you want to go here or there. They say, listen, I'm going to go to this and that. Okay. And then you're a manifestor. Maybe you're going to feel you want to do that too. You say, hey, I want to join you. Is that cool? You know, you can ask them because they have their own authority. That works. Good. Yeah. Inform. And inform the people what you need. Inform them what you like or you dislike. And, you know, you get the habit of it, then it starts to be your way of speaking. I inform. This is the way I speak, you know, and it really works for me. Okay. Well, you say, but hard to get people to accept that. You don't need to get anyone to accept anything, not manifestors, and I don't think anyone else either. You want to, you know, you want to be yourself. This is what we are here for today. And you're going to have thoughts about that and thoughts about what other people are thinking, and they might have thoughts. That's all a story, you know? Let's go on to this. So we are in relationships today and we are talking about the auras. We were talking about the auras and how they affect each other or influence each other. And now I want to talk to you about the centers. So actually these auras are energetic field. Everything moves through them, all the information. And it's not just the aura itself, it's the information that is in the aura. And the information that is in the aura is what is activated and used. So every gate, that's the numbers in the centers that you can see here in the map. Every channel, every center, all this information moves through the fields and we can feel it. We do not know it. When we start understanding the map of human design, we can start understanding what happens to us with other people. We can start feeling it in the body and understanding the psychology of the mind that is telling the story. We can understand the story and we cannot be attached to it, you know, because we understand it. But actually what is happening is that you see here, for example, two maps. This is me, Pavaka, and Zaki is my husband. And you can see that I have 3 centers here. Yeah. And he has 4. And all the centers that I don't have, he has. And all the centers that he doesn't have, I have. So it's called definition in human design. Definition is what is colored in. So in the moment you are born, there is an imprint, and that imprint is you. And that imprint is what is colored in your map. And what is colored in your map is what is activated in you all the time. So information always moves there. And energy always moves there. And this is like, you can say, the student that you are in this, you know, in this university of life. That's what's there for you all the time. And through those places, you influence the others. So for example, you see this green rectangle here. This is ajna. This is the mind, the process. I affect and influence my husband here. I influence him also in the throat because this is what I have, and in the emotions, which is this rectangle in the right side. So I influence him in that, and he influences me in all the other places. So he has this yellow thing called G center, and he has the left rectangle in the left is called spleen. And the red sacral we were talking about of generators in the middle, the red one. And then down here, the root, the brown center. So we influence each other. We influence each other. All the places in my map that are undefined, meaning they are not colored in, it can be the numbers, the gates, the numbers that are not colored in purple. It's the channels that are white. It's the centers that are white. Everything that is white in my map, undefined, is the places where the world goes into me. And it not only goes into me, it's amplified. So it speaks really loud and it moves me in different ways. And this is why the strategies of the mind there, because when it moves, the mind makes up strategies because it's inconvenient, it's uncomfortable. So we make the other uncomfortable in many ways in all the centers, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute. Okay, so it's mutual conditioning all the time through the fields. You stand near someone and you're conditioned. They don't have to talk for that. You know, if you stand near someone and they have centers defined that are open in you, it goes in you and it can move you, you know, to think stuff, to feel stuff, to do stuff, and you're not even aware of it. This is amazing. You think it's you. It's not you. And we're like puppets, you know? This is the places where our strings are kind of pulled, you know, all those empty spaces, yeah, like Queen. And also there is this, when you look at the map down here, this is the combinations of our maps. So when you look at the combinations of the maps, something new emerges there that influences both of us. So for example, with me and my husband, there is this hard ego we were talking about before, the willpower, the one that makes us feel that we're not good enough and that we need to prove ourselves. When we are together, it's colored in, and it would be influencing me and him, even though no one of us has it. We're going to be influenced by it. Okay, and another interesting thing to see when you look at the map here, you see the green and the blue, and the green is me and the blue is him. And there are connections that happen there that can show us where the conflict is. And it can show us where we call it electromagnetic, where the chemistry is. And it also shows us where compromise happens. So it's really interesting when you look at two maps. I'm not going to go into it today. This is not basic. We're really talking about basic today. But just so you'll understand that when you look at the map, at the connection map, you can see everything that happens in a relationship. And not only an intimate relationship, you know, husband, wife, like I did here. With your kids, with your parents, with anyone you're looking at, you can understand the whole relationship. It's amazing. Okay, so look at this. There are voices in you. There are voices in you. You know, your thought is speaking. And most of the time, you don't know where the thoughts come from. You know, are they yours? How come the ego goes red? Red, only you, Pavaka Heaven, Hangy Gate. No, I have the 21 and he has the 45 in the throat. So they meet. Okay. Okay. This is a very basic thing to understand definition. How does definition happen? So there's the basic definition of the gates. This is answering what somebody Dragos asked here. There's the gates, and then when the gates meet, they become a channel, and then energy moves all the time, and then the centers are defined because energy moves. So this is how definition happens. You know, when you look at the map, you see in the sides, you see numbers and stars. This is each star, you know, each planet activates one gate, and then sometimes two of those gates meet, and then you have a channel, and then you have two centers, and this is how definition happens in us, in human beings, and also in the relationship with somebody else. This is what we see in the maps. Okay, now let's talk about the centers, the voices in you. So we have 9 centers that make up who we are. It's the structure that we are. And we said that every open center, meaning each center that is not defined, is white in our map, is influenced by the world. The world comes in and goes out all the time, so it's inconsistent. And this is part of what is so uncomfortable in this, because it changes all the time. You know, you think you have something, and then it's gone, and then it comes back again. It's different, and then it goes again, and then it's, yeah, like that. We call it not self. This is the places where the not self resides, because if you listen to your mind telling you what to do, actually what you're listening to is to those empty places in you that think They need to fill up. And they find the fill up in the other person, but it's not comfortable. Okay, so let's look at the strategies. Each one has a strategy. So if you have an open head, yeah, this is the rectangle up here, you're always under pressure to understand something. So if you're with another person that has the head defined, you'll always be kind of conditioned to think so many thoughts and try to understand something. If they ask you a question, you're going to be under pressure to answer them. This is just what happens, you know, and it gives you mental stress. So you're with somebody and you don't understand why you have mental stress. And not only that, it can move you to do something. They're going to ask something. You're going to, you know, go to Google, try to find it. You're doing something you didn't mean to do, and maybe you don't even need to do it. It's not in your energy, but you're going to do it because you're under pressure. Okay? And this is just one example. So we have the ajna that's trying to prove it's certain. People who have the ajna open, they're always afraid that the other will think they're not interesting enough, they're stupid, they're whatever, because, you know, their thought changes all the time. They're insecure. And so, you know, if you have an open ajna, and you're with a person that has the ajna, you're always going to be trying to prove to them that you are, you know, that you're right and you know what you're talking about, and you're certain that what you said yesterday was this and that, even though you don't remember what you said yesterday because you have an open ajna. And what you said is just the thought that came in and went out, you know, and you feel you're not smart enough, and the other, you know, might not think of you, whatever. Okay, we have the throat that tries to get attention. So people with the open throat, if you're with somebody who has a defined throat, you're going to be conditioned to speak and speak and speak and not know when to stop speaking, and to try to make the others see you, because people with open throat feel like they're not seen and they're not heard. Sometimes they feel like they don't exist, you know, like they're saying something and there's nobody there to catch it, so to speak, you know. So they're always under pressure to express themselves. They feel they don't express themselves. Think about it in a relationship, you know, they will feel they don't express themselves. They'll think the other is to blame for that. So each one of the centers, we don't really have time to go on all the centers, but you're going to get this later, and you can look at it and see. If you look at your map and you see the open spaces, you can see what is actually influenced by the other, and you can see in your relationship what happens, you know. For example, well, there's so many examples I can give with me and my husband, but I want to go to something different, the understanding, the gift of understanding. Because the thing is, actually, you know, before I knew this, I will say another thing about this. Before I knew this, let's give you a little example about, you know, love. Love, you know, if I talk about my husband, then there's the G center, see, identity, center of identity. And for me, it's the open. What does the color mean? Gold, green, red. There's no gold, green, red here. I don't know. I'm going to go on. So, for example, in the preview, in the previous one, the green and the blue is just the connections, and then in each person there's red and black, which is design and personality. I don't really have the time to go over that, but you can, you know, maybe later you can write me in private. If you guys still have questions after this, you can write me in private to my mail, and I'll answer you gladly. Okay, so I want to say something little about that. You know, I have the G center open, and when the G center is open, that's somebody who is never sure of love and never sure of his way, you know. So for me, the mind was never sure of love. Yeah. And I live with a, you know, my husband is an amazing, amazing man. We've been together for 13 years now, and he really loves me and I love him and everything's good. But for me, I'm never sure of love. What does that mean? It means love is something very philosophical for me. You know, if I listen to my mind, it will go, if I feel this, then this is love. And now if it changed, it means I don't love him. If I can't see in my mind myself growing old with him, does that mean he's not the one for me? Maybe if I am with somebody else, maybe a, you know, emotional manifestor like me, I would feel that I can love him more, you know. And every time something would happen between us, I would be at the door, you know. He has the G Center colored in yellow, and he would be standing at the door. No, you're not going, you know, we're gonna work this out. But for me, I wasn't sure. My mind was going, hey, this can't be love. If this happened just now, it means he doesn't love me, or I don't know, or I don't love him, or I don't even know what love is, you know. So maybe I'm not in the right place and I'm gonna go. But it was just my mind not being sure of itself. And when I learned this, I said, oh, that's interesting. Because really, I've never had, you know, the notion that I know 100% that this is love. It never happened to me in my life. And I'm with this amazing man. We have an amazing relationship. We build a beautiful family together. We're growing together. We have, you know, good communication. And that's the only time I could really relax into the relationship, was out of understanding that my mind will never be sure of love. The same with direction, you know. I love the place where I live in, but you can come in any day and say, hey, let's go buy land in Portugal, or let's go to Ibiza, or let's go to Goa, or whatever, all these places I have friends in, because I'm a 5'1", so very international. And my mind will go there any minute and think, sure, that's probably a better place for me, you know? So this is just one example of what happened in our relationship. And we had that, you know, I have 3 centers and he has 4, and all those centers, each of us had, you know, influence with the other. And it brought a lot of problems between us. You know, his spleen was manipulative and I was holding on, and my emotional wave was going into him, and he was always so emotional because of me and thinking it's his, you know, and his root was stressing me and putting me under pressure. And I was always like, come on, come on, come on, let's do things, let's do them. And he would say, why are you pressuring me? Because he has the root and my root is open. And this is just keynotes, what I'm saying here. I'm saying this very fast, so if you're not a human design person, you're probably not following or understanding what I'm saying. But what I'm trying to say is there's a map, you know, and this map shows you everything you need to know. It will show you what your mind is telling you, and you can understand this mind is a story, and then you can stop listening to it because you understand it's a story, and you can be in your strategy. And when you're in your strategy, you start listening to your inner authority, and you start deciding out of that. You will act out of what is truly yourself, and you will act correctly, and you will be correct with the other, and then everything changes. And this is what I wrote here, the gift of understanding. Understanding is a gift. You know, when you understand yourself, you can be yourself. When you understand the other, you can let the other be their self. It's, you know, acceptance starts with this. And there's nowhere to go without acceptance, because the other will never be what you think they need to be or what you want them to be. Not your husband or wife, not your children, not your friends, not your, you know, the people you work with, whatever. Nobody's going to be what you think they need to be. It's only your story. And you will never be what they expect you to be. You can only be yourself. So accepting that is like breathing, you know, breathing in this world. Most of the people don't really breathe. You know, we walk around like, oh, what is this life? You know, we need to deal with it. We have to survive. Human design says, listen, you're not here to survive. Your body knows how to survive. You have the wisdom of the form. It's here to move. You're here to watch. And then, you know, you can enjoy the movie. My mind, you know, is great entertainment. It's great for communicating, and I can, I can do this webinar because I have the mind, but I don't listen to my mind when it tells me what to do, and I don't let it run my relationships, and this is why they're good. So the understanding of yourself and understanding the other and understanding relationship and all this happens through the map of human design. And it's not only understanding, it's the key, the tips like I gave you before. Generators wait to respond, projectors wait for the invitation, manifestors wait to initiate in the right moment and inform, and reflectors wait for the moon. You have those, this is just the basic tips, but you have so many practical tips for each one of those centers. How you can be correct in the world according to your map, and how you can be correct out of understanding the other, being correct with them. And the good news is you don't need them to change for that. It all starts with you. We're talking about the first relationship that needs to change is the relationship with myself, and then everything changes. And this starts with you taking responsibility, over your life. And no one can do that for you. And now I want to tell you how you can learn this and learn how to see your map and learn how to see the other's map, but not only learn it, but experience it. And this is my experience, that if you don't feel it in the body, it's very hard to understand what human design is really about. So I was a year and a half into the experiment before I went to my teacher's Marianne Winiger immersion. And I was really radical with the experiment. It totally changed, the way that I am in the world and where I lived and what I was doing and my relationships. But when I went into the immersion and I experienced what the aura is in my body, and I could feel the auras of the other types, and I could feel the centers through group dynamics, it changed the way I understand human design. It became my understanding in my cells, in a cellular level. And this is why I am so passionate, not only about teaching the knowledge of human design. I do teach the knowledge. Living your design is the knowledge, because you need to know it, to know the keys. But I'm passionate about, experiencing it, experimenting it, and in your body feeling it, so you can really go into the world and understand what you are feeling in communication and why your psychology tells you certain things. So I'm actually inviting you to gift yourself this, to gift yourself a process that will teach you human design, teach you the knowledge of human design, but also let you experience it in a group. And it's called Human Design Retreat. And I'm going to be giving 2 retreats in April. One is in Grass Valley, California, and the other one in Lake Atitlan, Guatemala, in beautiful, beautiful San Marcos. Both of these places, you can see the pictures here, are very magical surroundings in nature, perfect for retreat. 5 days in Guatemala and 6 days in California. And those days are going to take yourself. By the way, if you guys live around, you don't have to sleep there. This is a question that comes up. You don't have to sleep there, but it's a whole day that you come to kind of retreat in this place and take time for yourself, to understand yourself, to connect to yourself, and then to go out into the world and, be the change that you want to see in the world, like they say. So 10 to 15 in April in Grass Valley, and then 22nd to 26th in Lake Atitlan, Guatemala. And what I offer the people that are here in this webinar, I'm going to make another webinar because I was kind of mistaken with the time, and there were a lot of people that I guess left, because there were more than 90 people that were signed in. So for all the people that participated here today, you get a 10% discount for the next 24 hours. So all you need to do is, when you go into the link, and I'm going to send you a mail with the link to register, what you need to do is write the code webinar, and you get the 10% off. So I'm not talking about the prices because they're a little different in California and in Guatemala. This is because, technical differences of a few sorts. But the code is the same, and it's 10% discount whether you're in Guatemala or you're in California. And a few more words about the retreat and what is going to be going on there. It's an awakening experience, truly, truly awakening. And I told you before, I thought I was pretty awake before I came to human design, but actually I had so many mental concepts about what it is to be spiritual and what I am as a spiritual being. And I was still living in the story. Really, what human design did is took me from the mental plane into my body, into this life, into presence. So instead of watching a movie, I became, it's like you read a book and suddenly you are what the book is about, you're the character that the play is about. It's amazing. It's a totally different concept of awakening than what I knew before. And this is the real thing in my experience, truly, to just be who I am, in this life and be correct. So this is what's happening in this experience. It's 5 or 6 days of learning the knowledge, immersing in experience, and being in the community. Human design people, we see each other in the net, in the Facebook, but it's not the same. When you meet in the aura and you can speak the language and you have a living lab, people to really try this with, like a lab. If you're a generator, you wait to respond in a circle. If you're a projector, you wait to be invited. If you're a manifestor, you initiate, but you wait for your inner authority to initiate. So you have this kind of living lab where you can try out what a life is in the human design experiment for real with other people, that live the experiment. It's amazing. This is, experiencing the energetic level with people that are into it, same as you. And we have the Living Your Design. So Living Your Design is the basic course of the IHDS, a Human Design School. And we're going to learn the map. We're going to learn how to look at it and how to understand it, in the way that I was speaking today. And even, to read it very basically. It's the international training that you want to do. If you're going into human design, this is the training that you do. And I'm a professional LYD guide, so I'm certified to do that. And I also record the classes, and you get the recordings and you get the presentations, so the knowledge is there for you. You can always go back to it, which is amazing. So we're going to understand the auras, the types, the centers, what is called definitions and inner authorities. And we're going to have, in all these days, we're going to have 3 hours in the morning of living your design, and then 3 hours in the afternoon of immersion. And immersion is the experiencing of the energetic level. So we're going to have group dynamics to feel, our type, to feel the aura, to feel the centers, and then to share it, to share each one our experience. Also to just be in the unknown, to be in that special vibration of human design that, each one is just themselves, and whatever comes up, and we do not know what come up. This is so special. For me, this is the place where I always mutate, So each time that I go to an immersion, or each time that I facilitate an immersion, this is what happens to me. I mutate, I go to my next level, and it's like a quantum leap. Each time it's amazing. And most of it is just from this sitting together in presence of auras of people that are into their experiment. And it doesn't matter if you're just going into human design in this retreat, or if you've been a long time into this. Maybe you did the LYD already. Maybe you're an analyst. I don't know. It doesn't matter, actually. The experience takes you to the next level. You embody the knowledge, really, practicing it like that. And then meeting people like you, speaking the human design language, a place to ask, to share, to learn together. This is the best way to learn. For me, each time I do a retreat or a course, I learn from the people that are there, because we're each unique. So I tell about a center and somebody says something, and that's like, oh, wow, I've never thought about it that way. So I learn so much from other people. It's an amazing experience. And this is what I'm inviting you for. So generators, is this for you? Is this correct for you? Do you want to come? Are you coming? Do you have the energy for it? If you do, great. And if you're projectors, I invite you I invite you from the bottom of my heart to come. And if you're manifestors, you know, I'm informing you this is happening. And I love that, you know, I love that manifestors are also around with me, and I'm not the only one, because it happens a lot that I'm the only manifestor. So please come. And reflectors, of course, if you're here, then that's a pleasure. I've had reflectors in my courses before, and that's a totally different learning. It's like, you know, learning from the moon that brings its light and, you know, and reflects everybody. So if this is for you, look at this. If you want to live like this, like this picture, flow with life, fly with life, be who you are, you know, have relationships that are there for you, be in the life course that is for you. You know, I say when I stopped chasing my dreams, or what I thought was my dreams in my mind, my dreams started chasing me. You know, the dreams of life for me started chasing me. This is what happens human design. You align to your life and you feel like correct. You know, correctness is so beautiful. People talk about happiness and, you know, big words, but, you know, actually knowing you're in the right place with the right people in the right time, that you're saying the right words and the right vibration comes back to you. For me, that's pleasure. You know, this is what being correct is. It's like I'm precise, you know. So if this is for you, you can join. I'm going to send you the link. You can go in and see, you know, all the details. And if you have questions, you can email me, or you can write me via Messenger, or you can even WhatsApp me. I'm going to put the number in there, or you can talk to Brittany or Snot, the beautiful and amazing women that are helping me in California and Guatemala. If you decide to join in the next 24 hours, if you put the code webinar, then you get 10% off. And if you come, then I'll be very, very happy to see you there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you guys for saying thank you. I really enjoyed it. I haven't done a webinar for a long time, and I've never done one in English. So thank you for hanging in with me there. And I'll see you. And I will send you the recording as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.